Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I know I've been gone for like a really long time, but that was because school and just life in general. But I'm back and I'm here to tell you about my story. This story is about, wait for it, my first fight. Yes, my one and only fight so far. And I'm here to tell you it happened at church, right? Sometime last year, like a couple months ago, and me and the girl and her best friend, we weren't like best friends, but we were like pretty close, right? One day we were at choir rehearsal and the choir director said, "Oh yeah, I want you to have a solo." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Sure, I'll do it." But then as the week goes on, I'm like thinking in my head, what the heck am I thinking? I cannot sing. My voice is already messed up. It was like going through that weird stage of puberty. So I'm like, it's cracking and I can't sing outside of falsetto. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And second of all, I was like really nervous because I was going to be singing in like front of hundreds of people. So I'm like, no way, Jose, am I doing this? And so the day I had the solo, I told the choir director, I was like, I don't want to do it. You should give it to Felicia's best friend. And the choir director was like really pissed off because I had to sing that day. And I was like, no, I can't do it because I was like so scared and my voice was already messed up. So we ended up not singing the song that day. And the choir director, she was like really upset with me and she just stopped talking to me for like this whole period of time. And so I was like, I know who would like to do the solo, someone who's really good and everything. So I was like, you should give it to you should give it to Felicia's best friend. And so the choir director went to Felicia's best friend and was like, do you want to do it? And she was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And so Felicia's boyfriend, which, let me remind you, he's freaking 19 and he's the drummer for the choir. He goes around talking about, oh, Darlene said this and she's jealous of you guys and all this and this and that. And I'm just like, how am I jealous? I'm the one who told the choir director to give her the solo. So I'm like really confused. And so Felicia and her best friend are like upset with me for no reason. They didn't even come to me and ask me, is that true? And I'm like, okay. So they're going around talking stuff and I'm talking to my best friend and I'm telling him everything and he's like, okay, just don't worry about it. So Felicia and her best friend text me like, oh, you're just a jealous girl. And well, they didn't use girl, they used more graphic words, but I'm like, okay, how am I jealous? And they're messaging me like saying, oh, she's a better singer than you and you're just jealous, and if you have anything to say you could come to me and say it. And I'm like, okay. So I get really mad, so I'm gonna fight back, like I'm gonna argue back. So this went on for like the longest and it got drug out for like freaking months. So events leading up to the fight, it was like we were at Bible study like on Wednesday nights, and every time we would go to church we will always end up arguing. Like every time we see each other we will always argue with each other. And I'm like, okay. And one night, it was on a Wednesday, and I was walking down the stairs with my friend, and Felicia and her best friend were like standing at the door waiting for me. And I'm like, okay, what are they about to say? So I'm thinking in my head, if they say anything, I'm gonna say something back. Like, I don't care if we're at church or not, because at this point I was mad. So get to the bottom of the stairs and they came up to me and were like, what did they say? Oh, they was like, so what do you have to say to us, or something like that. And I'm like, don't even feed into it. So I pushed past my friend and I just walked down the stairs. And I was like, okay, because I was thinking in my head like, dude, like don't do nothing because you're at church. Like just don't say nothing. So I just pushed past him and I went downstairs. And so I was downstairs with my cousin and everything, and they stayed outside. But by the time Bible study was over, we all went upstairs, and I was with my best friend and I was with my cousin, and I was talking to them. And then Felicia's boyfriend, the 19-year-old, aka the drummer, comes up to us and he's like, so what are you guys talking about my girlfriend for and all this and that? And then he calls over Felicia, like, come over here. She comes running up, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? And then my cousin, he's like mad and everything. He's like, oh, you're not gonna come up to my cousin like that and all this and that. They start taking off their stuff, and they were about to fight and everything. Felicia comes up to me all in my face, and I'm like thinking in my head, okay, she has 2.5 seconds to get out of my face before I hit her. And she's like yelling in my face, and I'm just like, get out of my face. And by this point, I'm like literally getting upset. And then my brother comes up because he sees I'm like about to hit her. My brother comes up and he swoops me from my waist and literally drags me away. And so my cousin and the boyfriend are like freaking yelling at each other, and all the old people in the church come outside and they're like trying to break everything up, and everyone, there's like a whole bunch of little kids and everything. So my brother brings me to the car, and I'm like yelling out the car like, you got me messed up and all this and that, and I'm just yelling because at this point I'm like so pissed, and I'm like crying because like when I get upset I cry, and I hate that, but I'm like crying and yelling, and my cousin is like yelling, and everyone's yelling, and I'm just like, oh my god. Like now, like looking back on it, I'm just laughing at it because it was so crazy. But anyways, I'm in one car and everyone's coming up to me and talking to me saying you need to calm down and everything, and I'm just like, no, she hasn't messed up, you don't come up to me like that. And my cousin had to go in a different car because he was like so upset. And by the time is over, we all just go home. And yeah, it's like a couple of weeks passed, a couple more, like I don't know, we kind of said, like, we settled it, but then we didn't settle it. Like, we were forced to settle it because our youth director, she's like, no, we're not about to have this at this church. You guys need to stop fighting right now. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And I just said sorry so we could drop it. And then, like, honestly, at first I thought we did drop it because, like, we were talking. We were like, yeah, I'm going through this, and yeah. And then she was like, oh, well, she was giving me some advice about some stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, we really dropped it. But somehow the situation got brought back up. I don't even remember how, but yeah, it got brought back up, and we're like arguing again. And one Wednesday, I was talking to a friend, and I was like, she was talking while we were reading scripture, and I was like, dude, shut up. And Felicia thought I was talking to her, and I'm like, she was like, you don't tell me to shut up. And I was like, I wasn't even talking to you. And then she gets all upset, and by this point, like, in time, like, this argument has been going on for months. So by this time, I'm just laughing. I'm like, okay, she's mad. Okay, I don't care. So I'm just laughing, and she's down there screaming and yelling, and I'm like, okay. She gets up, and we're sitting, like, at this long table, and I'm, like, on this side. She's on the other side, like, further down, and screaming. And she gets up and she walks around the whole table, and then she stops and she's like, ooh, she says, ooh, she's lucky because she was about to get it. And something just clicked in my head. I stopped laughing and I got serious, and I was like, okay, but did you swing though? And something clicked in her head, and I'm like mentally preparing myself because she walks all the way around the table. Let me say, she could have went this way because it was shorter, but she takes the long way, goes all the way around the table. She comes up to me, and I stand up, and I'm like, I'm not about to let her have the advantage of, like, hitting, like, the upper hand, because I was sitting down. She was standing up, so I literally had to hurry up and stand up, and then I just, like, swung, and then she swung, and we were pulling hair, and we were, like, hitting, screaming, kicking. It was like a real cat fight, and everyone's like everyone's like, oh my god. My brother had to hurry up and get up and grab me again, and he's trying to pull me off, and I'm just like swinging, hitting, and I don't even remember. But anyways, she got pulled off of me, and she got pulled downstairs, and then I'm just like, what the hell just happened? Like, at this point, I'm so shocked, and the only thing that comes out of my mouth, I'm like, I have to get my grandma. Like, that was the only thing that comes out of my mouth. And I'm like not even crying. Like, I'm not even upset. I'm like, for some reason, I'm just calm because I was so shocked. Like, I was like, did this really just happen? And everyone's sitting there like, that just happened. Like, they just fought. Like, it was crazy. And sorry, the lighting might be a little different because turns out I ran out of space on my camera, and every time I record it, it will like stop recording, so I had to delete some stuff. But anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, my pastor, my grandma, and my grandpa ran up the stairs, and they were like, what happened? And I just told them what happened, and then we all went outside to go talk, and they were sitting outside. Felicia and her best friend and her boyfriend and some other people that I didn't like at the time were all sitting out there. And then I tried to have a civil conversation, but no, she was like screaming and crying and yelling, and like her boyfriend was holding her back because she was acting like she was trying to do something again. And I'm just like, okay, because I was still like kind of shocked. Like, I was scared that I was going to get in trouble, and I was thinking in my head like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble. And then my grandma, my grandpa, they just started yelling at me too, and that's when I started yelling. I'm like, why is everyone yelling at me? And then I started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't take this. So my grandma was like, get in the car. We get in the car, we go home, she's still screaming, and I'm like, by this point, I'm like a total mess. I'm like, tears are just falling, snot coming out, just everything, just, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you need to listen to me. Like, I'm trying to tell you what happened. I'm just like, by this point, I'm just overwhelmed. And then I go to my room, and I'm getting texts, like, and calls, and everyone's like, what happened, this and this and that. I just call my sister, and I'm like, dude, you need to, like, come get me right now. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes, no questions asked. And I'm like, okay. So I shut off my phone. I started packing my stuff. I just grabbed anything. I was like shoving everything in my bag. And then I told my brother, I was like, I'm leaving. And he was just like, okay, be safe. Like, he's mad at me because, I don't know, he was just mad at me for some reason. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't tell no one else that I left, and I just left. And I went with my sister for like 5 days. And I didn't come back until 5 days later. But anyways, that's a whole other story. Okay, so that was the end of my story. I know it was pretty crazy, and I said it like really fast, but like, yeah. If you guys like the story, please like and comment and share or whatever to all your friends with. But if you guys want to hear how the story, like, a couple months later, like, there's a plot twist between Felicia and her best friend. If you guys want to hear that, make sure you comment down below because it's pretty crazy. But that's all I have to do. I mean, that's all that's all I have to say. I know I probably missed some details, but that was like all I could remember, and like the big details, like, yeah. So if you guys have any more ideas or any more stories that you'd like to hear, just comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. And yeah, see you guys next week. Love you.
It's blurry right now.
I bet it is blurry. Yeah,
okay, now.
And we're clear. Don't know why this took forever. My camera is like, there wasn't any memory left on it, so it took literally all day. I started recording like at 9, and it's, well, not 9, I started recording like at 10:30, and it's 4:43 right now. So literally took all day.